New graphics cards are here from Nvidia, and more are on the way, along with cards from AMD, whenever they decide to finally launch them. And while consumers are flocking to buy what they can get their hands on, a GPU is only one piece of the puzzle, because having a shiny new 5080 or 5090 is nice, but if you're running it on an old, slow monitor, then it's kind of a wasted effort. Luckily, there's been quite a few announcements at CES last month and since about new monitors on the horizon that could pair really nicely with that new GPU you're eyeing up. And we got plenty of juicy details to dive into as we look into what's coming and the developments we should see this year. But before we get into that, here's a quick word from this video sponsor.
Oi oi, I hear you're in the market for a proper top-of-the-line monitor. Best blacks, brightest whites, sharper than a tailor's crease, am I right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Well, look no further, my son. Feast your peepers on this, the Glare 5000, a true marvel of technology. Just, maybe don't use it when the sun's out.
What? That's not what I want. I was after a 32-inch 4K 165Hz QD OLED with adaptive sync.
Cool, blimey, we've got a right tech connoisseur here. You don't mess about, do you? All right. I see where you're coming from. Forget the Glare Master, that was just a warm-up. What you need, my friend, is the Agon Pro AG326UD from AOC. Top tier gear, 4K, 165Hz, QD OLED, all the bells and whistles. And get this, HDR 400 certified. That's the real deal, no mucking about.
That does sound good.
Of course it does. I wouldn't steer you wrong, would I? I'm all about quality, me. Now, if you want to get your hands on one of these beauties, you know what to do. To find out more, click the link in the description below. You won't regret it, my son. Lovely jubbly.
First up, let's talk about LG's absolute beast of a monitor, the UltraFine 6K. Now, this isn't just another high-res display. What makes this special is that it's the first 6K monitor to feature Thunderbolt 5 support. We're talking about bandwidth that can automatically boost from 80 to 120 gigabits per second. Now, I know what you're saying. Why does this matter? Well, imagine you're working with 8K raw footage, running multiple virtual machines, or handling complex 3D renders. That extra bandwidth means you can do all of that simultaneously without any bottlenecks. Plus, with Thunderbolt 5's power delivery ranging from 140 watts to 240 watts, you're getting almost double what Thunderbolt 4 could handle. That means you can power even the most demanding laptops through the monitor alone. Now, inside this silver chassis is LG's latest nano IPS panel technology. They claim 98% DCI-P3 and 99.5% Adobe RGB coverage, which is, well, some serious colour accuracy, and something we could actually use ourselves when grading videos. So LG, if you're watching this, you know who to call. Couple this with nanometer-sized particles in the LED backlight, and they're promising richer colour expression than we've ever seen before. Now, let's talk about how this actually stacks up against the competition. Dell has been in this space with their 6K Ultra Sharp, which uses IPS black technology for better contrast for, well, quite some time. But here's where LG might have an edge. Their nano IPS panels have historically hit higher brightness levels while maintaining that colour accuracy. And while we don't have official pricing yet, rumours are suggesting it might come in under Dell's $3,200 price point. And, well, here's the really spicy part. This monitor might actually outperform Apple's Pro Display XDR in several key areas. Not just connectivity, but also in terms of future-proofing, which is kind of ironic that LG's monitor might be better equipped for the new MacBooks than Apple's own displays. Yeah, plus with that silver design, it will look right at home in any professional setup, and should smash it on price too. Next up is something that honestly sounds like science fiction, BREYLYON's Ultra Reality Extend. Now, this isn't just another monitor, it's what happens when you let scientists from MIT, IMAX and DARPA build a display. What makes this special is, well, its ability to render virtual images at different depths. We're talking about content appearing anywhere from 0.7 to 2.5 meters behind the screen. Basically, imagine looking through a window rather than at a screen. The really impressive part, though, is running at 4K at 60 Hz with what they're calling 1 bit of monocular depth for an 8K effect. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but what about going one step further? 3D. Yes, I know what you're thinking. 3D again, really? But Samsung's new Odyssey 3D monitor might actually change your mind about 3D displays. This isn't your old school 3D TV technology. Instead of glasses, they're using a combination of eye tracking and a lenticular lens attached to the front panel. But here's the really, I guess, clever bit. It can apparently convert regular 2D content into 3D in real time. Yeah. Now, we'll have to test that claim ourselves, but if it works as advertised, well, maybe 3D's time has finally come back. Yeah. Now let's talk about something that's going to affect all of us, OLED monitors. And at long last, they are finally breaking into the mainstream market. Dell's leading the charge with their new 32-inch QD OLED named the Dell 32 Plus 4K. And, well, it's not just another gaming monitor. We're looking at a reasonable 120Hz refresh rate 4K monitor with USB-C power, delivering up to 90 watts. And it's the first QD OLED with spatial audio tracking. But there's an even bigger story in the OLED world. The industry is on the verge of a major breakthrough with blue phosphorescent OLED technology, or PHOLED. Now, I know we've heard promises about OLED improvements before, but, well, this one is a little bit different. See, current OLED displays already use faux phosphorescent materials for red and green subpixels, but blue has always been the holy grail. The challenge has been getting blue PHOLED to last long enough to be practical, while maintaining that pure blue colour that we actually need. But it looks like both LG and Samsung have finally cracked it. And, well, here's where it gets really exciting. Current blue OLED pixels use fluorescent technology, which is basically wasting 75% of the energy that goes into them, while blue PHOLED could double the internal luminous efficiency. So we're actually talking about displays that are dramatically brighter while using less power. So when are we actually going to see this? Well, it's a bit of a race right now. Universal Display Corporation, who's been developing this tech, had a slight setback, but is still targeting late 2025 for commercial availability. And LG Displays is apparently doing mass production evaluations this year. And then Samsung's timeline lines up for 2025 as well. This means that we could see the first monitors and TVs with this technology hitting shelves in early 2026. And, well, here's the really interesting part. This could finally make OLED monitors mainstream. By improving efficiency and longevity, we might actually see prices drop enough to make OLED a realistic option for everyday computing, not just gaming and content creation like they have been up until this point. Now, moving on from that, here's something for all you mobile users out there. Remember when portable monitors were those flimsy little things that you'd barely want to use? Well, Base Case is about to change that game entirely. What we're looking at here is basically a rolling suitcase that transforms into a dual 24-inch monitor setup. Each screen is running at 1080p with a 75Hz refresh rate and can hit 350 nits of brightness. So, not too shabby. The connectivity options are impressive too. We're talking HDMI, USB-C, USB-A, Thunderbolt, and even Ethernet. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's the catch? Well, at $1,700 is not exactly cheap. But for professionals who need a serious multi-monitor setup on the go, this could be a bit of a game changer. Tom's Guide got their hands on a prototype at CES, and apparently it takes just seconds to set it up. Now, let's talk about something a bit more unique, if that's not unique enough. Have you ever thought that your monitor wasn't enough and you'd prefer something a bit more compact? Well, we're seeing some really innovative integration between monitors and PC cases this year. First up is Corsair's Xeneon Edge, a 14.5-inch touchscreen that literally attaches to your PC case with magnets. The specs are pretty solid too, with a 2560 by 720 resolution, 60Hz IPS panel with 5-point capacitive touch, and it can hit, again, 350 nits of brightness. But here's what makes it cool. You can use it for system monitoring, media controls, or even as a secondary display for your Discord chat while gaming. And at $249, it's actually pretty reasonably priced, and something that we've seen similar implementations of recently, like with Valkyrie's VK02 LCD case, which I actually played Cyberpunk on. And, well, I'd invite you to go and check out that video. Now, one cool thing is that MSI are taking it even further with their MEG Vision X AI desktop. The really clever part is how they've actually integrated this into a high-end gaming PC. They've basically turned the entire side panel into a 1080p touchscreen with built-in mic and speakers, and you can control your system, monitor performance, and even use it as a regular display. Things are going a little bit crazy. Now, speaking of crazy, next up is something that is, well, honestly a bit mind-boggling. Koorui? I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced. Well, Koorui have a new 750Hz display. Yes, you heard that right. 750 Hz. To put that into perspective, we've gone from, well, 360 Hz in 2020 to 750 Hz in just 4 years. That's a 108.3% increase in maximum refresh rates. But let's break down what this actually means in real-world terms. At 750 Hz, each frame is displayed for approximately 1.33 milliseconds. Well, that's getting, I guess, incredibly close to single millisecond territory. And for comparison, human reaction time is typically around 200 milliseconds. So why go faster? Well, it's all about motion clarity and input latency. Even if you can't consciously perceive each frame, higher refresh rates reduce motion blur and make tracking moving objects even easier. This is especially crucial in esports titles like Counter-Strike or Valorant, where every millisecond can make a difference. Now, I know what you're thinking. Can any GPU actually push frames that fast? Well, with NVIDIA's new RTX 5090 and technologies like DLSS4, we're actually getting very, very close in certain games. In less demanding esports titles, we've already seen frame rates above 600 FPS, but for most modern games, yeah, good luck hitting those numbers. Koorui, well, they were running refresh rate tests at CES, and the monitor was consistently hitting that 750 Hz mark. Though interestingly, they weren't actually showing any actual gameplay. They're also claiming some impressive colour specs, at least for a TN panel, such as 95% DCI P3 coverage thanks to quantum dot technology. And, well, if true, this could address one of the biggest drawbacks of traditional TN panels and, oh yeah, could be a literal game changer. Now, for those wanting something a bit more, let's say, realistic, Acer's got their 600Hz Nitro XV240 F6 coming out this quarter for $600. It's still insanely fast, but at least we know it's actually hitting shelves soon. And honestly, for most competitive gamers, 600Hz is already well beyond what you'd need. And at those sort of frame rates, you'll likely be CPU bottlenecked anyway, especially at lower resolutions. The really interesting question is, though, where does it end? We're already pushing the limits of what current display interfaces can handle, not to mention human perception. I guess the next battleground might not be raw refresh rates, but rather improving motion clarity and reducing latency in other ways, like NVIDIA's Reflex 2 technology or new motion processing algorithms. Now, before we actually wrap this one up, let's talk about, I guess, where monitor technology is heading. We're seeing some clear trends already in 2025. Higher refresh rates, better colour accuracy, and more innovative form factors. But the real game changer might be these upcoming PHOLED, FOLED developments. If manufacturers can crack the blue FOLED challenge, we could actually see a whole new generation of OLED displays that are brighter, more efficient, and potentially more affordable. The other big trend is integration. Monitors aren't just separate devices anymore. They're becoming part of our PC cases, our laptops, our portable workstations. And with technologies like BREYLYON's depth rendering displays, we might actually be looking at the early stages of a complete revolution in how we think about screens. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. And that's going to do it for our early look at 2025's upcoming monitors and display technologies. If you enjoyed this video, then a like and a sub to the channel would be amazing. And let me know in the comments, which of these technologies are you most excited about? Are you ready to drop some serious cash on a multi-depth display? Or are you holding out for that 750Hz speed demon? Also, if you love what we do, consider supporting us over on Patreon, where you'll get access to behind-the-scenes content, early testing data, bi-weekly game nights, meetups at our offices, and much, much more. The link is, as always, down below. Also, let us know if you like these types of videos where we talk about news and tech as opposed to just mass amounts of testing data. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.